Today, we're going to be exploring the meaning of the first decan of Taurus. I'll do that first by talking about the planets associated with this decan, and then the tarot cards and some other ancient images, as well as numerology associated with this decan. And finally, by giving you a couple of examples of people who have this as their rising point in their chart. Serena Williams, the famous tennis player, as well as Robert Kennedy, the famous attorney general and advocate on behalf of disenfranchised and marginalized communities in the 60s. So, like and subscribe if you enjoy the content. It helps folks find me. Okay, to start, let's look at the planets that are associated with the first decan of Taurus. We have Mercury, the god of communication, Hermes in the Greek pantheon. Mercury is a planet that has to do with planning, putting things into order, organizing, being strategic. Um, the mind and how we can become concerned with what we need, right? And then we also have Venus, the goddess of love, beauty, relationship, harmony, but also the goddess of justice. So we take those planets and then we think about how they might relate to the fixed earth sign that is Taurus. So when we talk about the signs, all the signs have a different what's called mode. Either they're fixed, cardinal, or mutable. Fixed signs carry a fixed energy. If you think about the sign Taurus in general, it's the bull, right? It's the image of the bull that sort of sits there. It moves very slow and it has concentrated energy. So we take that Taurus fixed energy and add it to this Mercury and Venus. And then on top of that, it's an earth sign. Earth signs always have to do with what's material reality, what's practical and pragmatic to achieve on this earth plane. So when we weave all those ideas together with Mercury and Venus, you get this real sense, because this is the first decan of the first earth sign, of breaking into the world, into the earth to establish something in the world, right? To till fertile ground. It is an earth sign. To try and do it in a way that's organized and strategic, but also something beautiful and harmonious, something having to do with our values being important as well in this first decan of Taurus, because Venus, the goddess of love, also has to do with what we value and social justice. So let's move on from those planets and bring in the tarot cards, which really open up the meaning of the decan, especially once I give you some examples at the end of Robert Kennedy and Serena Williams. So you're really gonna see how their energy fits with the tarot card energy that we see in the Five of Pentacles that's associated with this decan. So here is the image of the Five of Pentacles. First, let's just talk about the number five in numerology, and also in ancient traditions like Kabbalah. In the ancient wisdom mystical tradition of Kabbalah, the phrase Gabora is the name of the number five, right? And it has to do with discipline and strength and power and destruction as a necessary source of transformation. There's something about all the fives in tarot. If you look at the different five cards, they all involve some sort of conflict or loss. Fives is this moment when we're trying to break free of the structure of the fours. So if you look at the Four of Pentacles in the tarot deck, you see this card, which is associated with the last decan of Capricorn, which is a sign that has to do with achievement and building, right? And in this image, the four, we see a guy who's sitting fat and happy, having, built and achieved a lot in the world. He's on his throne. He's got those pentacles, but look, they're over his chakras, right? There's something blocked about the energy he's achieved, but what has he left out in that achievement, right? There's a protective quality about the fours. And so the matter comes into form with the four energy. And then we have the five energy break through and shake things up. Fives are about breaking out of those old structures, wondering what might have been lost or hidden, allowing a creative potential to penetrate and perhaps open up a new fertile ground for creation in the world. In fact, the number five, if you think about it astrologically, is related to the quintile energy, which is 1/5 of 360 degrees. Okay, that's what a chart is, 360 degrees. And a quintile in astrology, people who have those in their charts tend to be quite creative, to have this capacity to see what is not seen and break into new open ground. So that's the number five. Now let's look at this card itself in a little greater detail. The card we see in the foreground quite a sad picture. We see two people without a lot of resources, right? And also in difficult circumstances. They're walking. They're persevering, if you think about it, under really difficult circumstances. They're moving forward in a winter storm, no shoes on their feet, one of them with crutches, really difficult energy. But we also see a couple of other things. We see the reality that that there are two of them. So there's a relationship. That's the Venus piece. They're walking together. There's not a single person, right? Then we also see the church in the background. That's where the five pentacles are. It's lit. So the window is lit. And so we have the sense of some energy there, but they're on the outside. So there's this real quality of being separated, perhaps, from the sustenance that you might need, or being an outsider in culture. And as Rachel Pollack in her book 78 Degrees of Wisdom points out, there's a little bit of a paradox in this card because we both have the outsider energy, but then we also have the potential warmth of something that's hidden in the background that we may have yet to achieve or access. Okay, so when we take this card into account, we see people with this decan may have a tendency to be survivors, to people that work really hard. We've got that Taurus energy of fixed energy of enduring and working hard. You see that in the card with the people that are persevering even under very difficult circumstances. We have the sense of relationality and community there as well. Then we can add in another layer, which is there's an image from ancient times in a book written by Agrippa in the 16th century, the Book of Occult Philosophy. And it's the image of a plow, like a guy riding naked on a plow, plowing the land, right? And this image doubles down on the earthy energy, of course, of Taurus, but also that struggle, that through struggle and hard physical work or effort, we're going to achieve material ground in this world. If we also think about Taurus, and this is the first decan of Taurus, there's something about Taurus that has to do with establishing yourself in the material world, tilling the ground through and creating through hard work financial success that allows you to build a stable ground for yourself. Taurus is all about stability and security also on some level. So now that we have those images and those ideas from both the planets and numerology, let's take a look at Serena Williams, as well as Robert Kennedy, their energy and their biographies. They both have Taurus one rising in their chart. The rising sign or rising point reflects the essence of who we are. And so they really carry the essence of this Taurus one energy. So let's just start with Robert Kennedy. He was someone who had a lot of wealth, so he himself was not an outsider from a financial standpoint. But if you look at his history, he very much identified with the downtrodden and did a lot of work on behalf of people who were who lacked resources and lacked support or felt themselves like outsiders in community. He not only that, but he did it in a real hands-on, earthy way. He didn't just intellectually think about how am I going to help people that don't have enough resources in the world. He visited inner cities. He visited native reservations. He visited Appalachia, all the places where poverty was really quite a problem. And he worked hard over a long period of time to address the issue of poverty in the United States. On top of that, he was a fierce social justice activist supporting desegregation in the South. He did work that was really very difficult over a long period of time as an attorney general to try and break up these old systems of segregation that were sort of so dug in, right? But that's what Taurus does, especially Taurus in this decan, is break up the old structures. This is the old structure of Capricorn, and then Taurus comes in as the individual Taurus energy of what can I do to break out of those old structures and find what is needed right in the moment. Where are we lacking? Then if we also look at RFK, let me just see. Yeah, I think that's good for RFK in general. And again, that energy of plowing forward in difficult terrain is really reflected by what he did and the hard work he put in as Attorney General. And then we can look at Serena Williams. Serena Williams definitely grew up as an outsider. Um, a, in the sense of she became a tennis player, but she was a black tennis player. She grew up without a lot of resources and worked hard to thrive and build something enduring in the field of tennis, even though she was an outsider. She didn't have the same resources as most of her competitors who were white and wealthy. I mean, tennis is a wealthy sport, right? But through a lot of hard work, she and her sister with their father built up her skills. And not just that, but once she entered the field of playing tennis, she did it in a creative way. She did not follow anyone's path. She sort of broke new ground, new soil. She refused to be bound by old structures of thought around what you should be or how you should be as a tennis player, a female black tennis player. She faced a lot of criticism and difficulty from the media, but she held her ground. She had her community, right? She had her family and she had the black community to support her. So we are reminded of that image in the foreground of even though she was an outsider, she was not alone. She had community with her. She had another person on the path, that very difficult path of breaking new ground. She worked tirelessly, the plow, forging ahead in very difficult circumstances over 20 years to get, I don't even know how many awards, like 23 or something like that, Grand Slam titles. I'm not a tennis fan, but I do know she achieved a lot, right? Through a lot of difficult circumstances. And she brought the Venusian energy of this Taurus one that Robert Kennedy did as well, that social justice piece they both share of fighting not just on behalf of themselves, but on the behalf of the greater community. She did a lot of work supporting Black-owned female businesses, as well as working around maternal health for Black women in particular, and just again, breaking through all the barriers that she had to break through to achieve what she did. So I hope you can see sort of the creative endurance, hard work, perseverance, strategic, right? That Mercury energy of being strategic about how you plow your field and where you plan, and then committing to it over a long period of time, which is that Taurus fixed energy. Yeah, I hope you enjoyed the next video will be on Taurus II, the second decan of Taurus, and that'll come out in around 10 days. If you enjoyed it, like and subscribe. I'll see you soon.